very much. There's no time when the mayor doesn't have a tough schedule, but you can imagine what it's been like in the last few days. And so we are enormously gratified that he's made time to stop by and share some thoughts, and I believe make an important announcement as well. Mayor, I know that you enjoy it when you go to the national meetings and it becomes clear that Boston is the envy of so many cities across the country. The vitality and dynamism and prosperity of this community, certainly on any relative basis, is extraordinary. But no one is more concerned about extending opportunity to those who haven't had it than our mayor. And it's been just terrific for us at the Boston Foundation and Skillworks to join hands with him in advancing this ball down the field. And as I said earlier, we have an opportunity that few other communities have. So please welcome Mayor Marty Walsh.
I want to thank you, Paul, and thank the Boston Foundation for all the great work that they do. And I'm going to talk about some of the other organizations in the room in a second. But I want to. What a great day to be down on the South Boston waterfront with the tall ships. And as we're trying in Boston, we're trying these self-driving cars. We're thinking later on we're going to send Yasha over and see if we get some of these self-driving ships going out there. Actually, I think they are. Actually, that's the old days. They actually pretty much is self-driving. You put a sail up and you kind of steer it, and that's it. We're coming full circle now in this world. But I want to thank all of you here for Tech Boston. This work is vital. As I heard just a briefing on the panel here, it's very important for our future. And Boston certainly is one of those cities thriving economically, and there's no question technology and innovation is at the heart of what we're doing. We have new corporations, logos and on the waterfront, and new startups in our neighborhood, even the work we're doing internal. McKeever McCreary is up here, Dr. McKeever McCreary from the Boston Public Schools, and they're looking at things differently. Yasha Frank Hodge, I'm sure he's on a panel in a little while. He's going to talk to you about some of the great things we're doing in our city as well, completely changing and doing the way that we do business. But there's nothing in our economy is guaranteed. Change happens very fast, and we have to widen the talent pipeline to continue innovating. And our talent pipeline right now is not available to all. The good news is those challenges are a perfect match to the talent that we have in our city, but we need to do better than that. And I'm grateful for the work of the Boston Foundation and Skillworks for investing in and developing this vital, important work. The City of Boston believes deeply in what's happening, so I'm pleased today we're announcing a public-private partnership where the city is going to invest $101 million to close the skills and opportunity gap in the tech sector. And it's something 500,000 from our Jobs Trust, Neighborhood Jobs Trust, but let me just back up. When we were doing the Bowling building in Roxbury, it was called the Ferdinand building back then, we were thinking about what do we do with some of the extra space in the building. And I was a new mayor, and I was going around the city, and I was at Mass Challenge, and I was looking at Mass Challenge, and I saw a lot of people in there learning about technology and competing, and those folks that were in there didn't look like the people of Roxbury, Georgetown, Mattapan. And I thought to myself, we need to do something here. And then I went over to the groundbreaking of WeWork, which is another innovative space not too far from this building. And as I went in there, a lot of the new companies that were coming in, I looked around at the faces there, and they didn't look like the people of Roxbury, Georgetown, Mattapan. And when we talked about Boston, we talked about, well, let's create something in the Bowling building. Let's create some innovation space, something, just so people from Roxbury can access innovation space, and kids from Georgetown can understand what innovation space is, and you don't have to go to Wentworth or MIT or Harvard to be able to understand this, and we did. And what we're finding now is in the economy of the future, we want to make sure, if we talk about truly being an inclusive, true city and true country and true world, we have to make sure there's opportunities for everybody. It can't just be white rich kids from the suburbs or white kids from Dorchester or Boston. It has to be the entire workforce. And when we think about things that we do at City Hall, we think about it through that lens every single day, regardless of what it is. And with technology, it's important with technology because with technology, I mean, there really shouldn't be a divide, and there shouldn't be a gap. And I know that a lot of you are going to talk a little bit about this today. And some of the things going to happen today. We're going to have some of the people who are going to carry out, the awardees who will carry out a lot of this work we're talking about. and I want to congratulate them. Hack Diversity. I want to thank Hack Diversity, a new program that's going to move 18 tech company interns, mostly at community college, into full-time work. And that community college piece is so big, and I want to thank you for that. The Jewish Vocational Services will create a bridge to college and career in healthcare technology at Bunker Hill Community College, and it'll be focused on opportunities for immigrant students. So you think about that. We're taking a community college, we're tying it up with immigrant students, and we're also tying it into the healthcare industry, which in Boston, we're probably, we like to think we're the leader in healthcare, so which we are. There's 67,000 jobs in the healthcare industry in the city of Boston. So when you think about that opportunity, their jobs are there, so there's real opportunities there. The Boston Private Industry Council, Neil Solomon's here, is going to more than double the number of summer interns in the Boston Tech Apprentice Program from 80 to 170 people, young people. And that certainly, the work is there to back that up. You can see the work there. We see it every day. Cyber Warrior Academy will run a training and apprentice program for 50 entry-level candidates. It's going to move people from the tech support roles into higher-paying jobs like cybersecurity analysts. And I want to thank those programs for stepping up and congratulate them for winning funding. Also, I'm told that we're going to reach more than 500 people in these different areas. So these investments are important. These investments are known as the American Dream. These are going to make our city stronger and more equal. I'm going to end with this. When you think about Boston, you think about where we are. I think about this a lot in the city, and other cities can steal this idea. 3 years in as mayor, we have created 60,000 jobs in the city of Boston, 120 in the state, 60 of those in Boston. Our population has grown by 30,000. Some of you heard this the other day. We have about $7 million worth of development going on in the city of Boston. We have more level 1 and level 2 schools than any other period in the history of our city. In September, more of our kids are going to level 1 and level 2 schools than 3, 4, and 5 in grammar school. We have world-class colleges, world-class universities, world-class health. All this stuff is lining up. Why don't we have make sure that our tech sector and our innovative sector is able to help every single person in every single neighborhood? With your help, many of you in this room, we will do that. Again, thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank the Boston Foundation for hosting so many great things, again, for being here today, and I hope you enjoy the day. And go out there, see the tall ships, spend some money. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As always, you were stepping up, and I think it's the obligation of others of us to match your extraordinary commitment. We've just got to call on employers, like the exemplary employers who are represented or who've been talked about thus far in the panel discussion. We really have to extend that expectation that everybody's going to have a hand in this. And we've taken a look at that, at what we can do at the Boston Foundation and through SkillWorks ourselves. I'm pleased to announce this morning that we are going to commit a minimum of $10 million over the next 5 years to workforce efforts, including TechHire. Thank you. Jim, I think it's time to reconvene our great panel. And thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for being here.
Fabulous news. That's great. Significant.
Anyone else want to join on the my side?
You know what? Well, so I think what I'd love to do is we talk about the mayor. Talked a little bit about the dynamics of the space, and we were chatting about this, but maybe more focusing and pivoting on the term. I know Phil or Mary Beth talked about cohesion. This opportunity to kind of do some more cohesion, and maybe Paul, I'm going to start with you as your employer, and maybe from that perspective, we'll come back to Jody. So,
yeah, so I would say in terms of cohesion, it's critical that there's bi-directional communications on the need of the employer, the demand, and then the training for the supply. And what I would see is the broker, the Boston groups, the PIC, all of that can really be the convening between those groups. What I think is important from the demand side, back to some of what I was talking about earlier, when you look at these trends in digital transformation, artificial intelligence, looking at blockchain, it's critical that the employers are sharing that information with academia. So as you look at the students early in the process, what sort of training should they be thinking of? And the reality is, the nature of tech is changing so rapidly that every 18 months there's a new technology, unlike 10 or 20 years ago where it was 2 or 3 years changes in tech. So I think as part of that cohesion, you need to have that communications. Another thing I would love to see on the education side is this idea of externships, where instructors, teachers could come into the private sector, do a tour of duty, where they would really see what some of the innovation going on, some of which they may not be aware of without doing that tour there. So I think ultimately it really is that communications in that grouping.
Yeah, I know just representing, I also sit, trustee with SIM Boston, which is another organization of just practitioners. There's 450 practitioners of IT leaders in the area. And I know, we're the pace of our work is so quick. The time to do a timeout, understand what's going on with hack diversity, what's going on, make a connection with Europe and other things. So maybe through your lens with hack diversity and getting that up and running, this word cohesion, what does that mean to you, Jody?
So when I think about, can everybody hear me? When I think about cohesion, I think about the fact that that was how we built the hack diversity model. So you had, venture capitalists that essentially came to me in the beginning, Jeff Westgang, who founded Flybridge Capital Partners and said, there's an issue, we need to address it. We meaning the VC community. And at first I thought, really, Jeff? But then I thought, we actually do, because venture capitalists are only successful if their founders are, and their founders are only successful if they have access to talent across the board. And by the way, research shows that the more diverse your teams are, the more profitable, the more successful your companies are, period. So when we looked at how to attack this issue, we believed, even before we sort of assembled the right folks, we believed that the talent was there and capable talent was there. So we weren't looking to create a new pipeline. We were looking to be cohesive and partner with folks at the year at Resilient. So we had David Delmar at the table. We had Resilient Europe at the table. We had UMass Boston at the table, Bunker Hill Community College at the table, helping us to understand as we were trying to figure out what this program looks like, what was the best way to approach it. So when we think about hack diversity, Paul, I go back to a comment that you made about having all these on-ramps, right? And so we look at all of these pipeline sources as on-ramps, right? So whether it's Resilient, whether it's UMass Boston, we're basically working with them to identify folks, again, that are top performers, but who haven't gotten job offers yet, right? So they're ready to work, but they haven't got offers because on paper, they haven't had the internship experience. Because you know what? While they were going to school, they were working full-time to support a family. And so, we want to help these students who don't have access and don't have resources. We want to give them the access to this apprenticeship, and we want to expose them to the companies. And by the way, so when we assembled our first meetup, essentially, we got the cohort and the employers together. And we said to the employers, we need your hiring managers, your HR people, and your diversity champions in the room during what we called mock interview day. And they said, well, we're going to need to see resumes. And we said, we're not giving you any resumes. Like, what do you mean you're not giving us any resumes? And we said, nope, we want you to come and meet and interact with this cohort for 6 hours. And that's it. And they were freaked out. By the end of the day, we separated the employers and we separated the potential employees or interns. And the employers said they were blown away. So they didn't have a resume to look at, so there was no unconscious bias, right? And so what they did was they interacted with the person and they got to hear about their experience. We had interns coming up to them saying, can I take you through this coding challenge that I had at school? Can I take you through this website that I built? I know that DataZoo is X. Here's how I can help your company. This was unprompted by us, by the way. These were hungry people. And so, for us, it's been a collaborative and cohesive model, and we're trying to get everybody in the room, because if we don't, we cannot address this issue.
And I assume you're starting small probably, but you've got plans.
Yeah, we do have plans. We
That's
have
great.
pretty aggressive plans.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sean, before I go to maybe just talk about that cohesion, again, someone you've been operating in this market for 17 years now, right?
Yeah, so I just want to nod to the great comments from others. So when I think about cohesion, I guess one of the, and particularly thinking about it in the context of where we all are working and living now, I guess I would raise our gaze, ask us to raise our gaze, and actually say, what is it that would be success? What is it that we actually can imagine? And I would suggest that part of the reason we don't have the cohesion that we can imagine, as much as there's great stuff going on, but we know we're not there, is that we don't actually have our eye on the prize. And we have our eye on different prizes, and we have a set of assumptions that have us arguably driving from what I call the rear view mirror. We have assumptions about if you do X, Y will happen. And in the economy that we're currently living in and that is rapidly, aggressively moving globally, nationally, and certainly locally, I think we have to really reimagine what it's going to mean to actually stay in the game. Get in the game, critical, and then stay in the game. And so I would suggest that it's the W-2 that grows over time that is the gaze we have for every young person, and arguably not so young person, in the Commonwealth. And if we were to align the incentives and what we hold people accountable for to that W-2 that grows over time, so that the supply intermediary side, the supply themselves, the extraordinary talent we have, and then for all the supply intermediaries, including all the various kinds of providers and all the intermediaries, and the employers, which is what we want as employers, is we want to essentially hire people and retain them and have them grow with our enterprises. It's that W-2 that grows over time. So if we were to look at the great visual you all had and said, what's in the way now of everybody saying that's what success is and what's my role related to that, I think that would change the game. That's really talking though about what we pay people for, how we would knit things together to actually, and then what we would do publicly to hold folks to account for that. It's going to require changing the practices of how we do what we do, from the funder side, from the employer side, from all the different supply intermediaries, and arguably the young people we know are totally ready, and we need to get it together to get clear on what it's going to look like and support them.
And I know, just being a tech apprentice hire for 10 years plus now, I love the raw aptitude that comes out that you can mold and mentor. I know, Paul, you're going to shake your head, and this is all coming out of the schools, so maybe talk a little bit about cohesion for you, Eva, just what does that mean for you, or is it more better the word alignment? I don't know. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to talk about probably both a little bit. I want to remind everybody that not only do we have your future employees, we actually also have your future consumers, and the power of the diverse consumer is tremendous, which we are buying.
And in some cases, current consumers.
Absolutely.
Many cases.
In most cases, right? Because technology really is not something that they have a barrier to using, and using to then engage in the economy. And so I would also say that the tech industry is not the first industry to struggle with this issue, by far. And so I think of an example in the footwear industry where, Massachusetts 10 years ago was producing, we have at least 8 footwear companies here. We have plenty of opportunities for young people to be engaging in these jobs, and there's very little pipeline of diverse designers, for example. And a gentleman who I got to work with was the lead designer for the Jordan brand, and he really got frustrated with the idea that he was producing a product that cost $150 and was being released every 2 weeks in a different color pattern. And the consumer was a young person of color living in an urban area in a single parent household with a median income of about $25,000 a year. But that's who was buying this product and keeping this $1 billion company moving forward. And so he left and he said, I'm gonna create the pipeline. I'm gonna start a school that reaches down and says, I will teach you all the skill sets that you're not gonna get even in the ID program in higher ed. We don't teach these things to you. You have to get lucky enough to get into the industry and learn on the job, and then survive that job where, frankly, there aren't people who look like you, so it's not very encouraging in terms of retention model. And he has probably placed 90% of people of color into footwear industry roles over the past 5 years from this deliberate effort to impart these skills. And what I will say is cohesion alignment. Even if young people go through this program and decide design is not for them, that they just don't have the aptitude, they have learned, and I hate calling it soft skills, they're not soft skills, they're critical skills. They've learned how to show up on time, they've learned how to be a partner and do project management, they've learned how to be accountable for whatever their deliverable was, they've probably learned about marketing, they've learned about you know,
Public speaking,
public
team
speaking.
playing,
There you are.
working well with others.
all of these things that they then have the confidence to walk out and own some industry that they actually do align with, something where they can find a proper home for their skill sets and talents. And so the more that I can encourage tech companies to A, look at other models where we have decided that it is imperative that we address the lack of diversity in our employees, because it's frankly an economic issue, if it's not just the right thing to do. And then also think about how we prepare our teachers. I think you brought that up. I worry about that often. We have all of these young people that we're saying need to be prepared for 21st century learning. I do not know that we have teachers and educators who are prepared for 21st century learning. It's moving really fast. And so we've got to help them also keep up and be in front of that classroom or in front of those young people. And so we need you to welcome both our students, but also our teachers. You're absolutely right, into experiences where they can also see what it is that the future of economy looks like.
That was a great point. So, and I know healthcare's gone through the same thing. It was a couple further years back, but you know, a lot of energy and dynamic in kind of addressing out of the pick. There's probably a couple more years ahead. Than where IT and tech are right now. So coming back to your desired state, you know, I know you talked about the W-2, but maybe like dial it down a little bit under, you know, from 1,000 feet down to 500 feet. What does that desired state look like, or the characteristics of this desired state? There's something. I'm going to throw this out, but Joey, you have any?
Desired state in terms of
just the interaction. So you represent the venture. You've got this start. But for the people you serve, what does the desired state with talent and skills look like, and accessing? Just a perfect state?
Yeah, perfect state. They could cast a net and pull up, and they can pick from the thousands of candidates that apply and decide who they want, and that's not the state. If you look at, so we launched a program called TechGen to essentially look at how do we retain talent across the region, period, right? So there wasn't a diversity lens. It was, we realized that 250,000 students were coming here to study on a yearly basis, and about 50% were leaving post-graduation. And so, we realized that this area is a really good talent exporter, and that's a shame because we have the top universities, we have companies that are coming here because they want to be aligned and sit next to, the brain capital and the innovation that's coming out of here. So why are we seeing so many students leave and depart into more competitive areas? And I think, when we look at our companies, whether it be the startups or the large corporations, they want to be able to not worry about how many are leaving. They want to be bombarded with this just wealth of talent. More particularly, they want to be bombarded with a wealth of people of color. I will tell you, if you look at how companies hire, their hiring practices in terms of recruitment is typically we're going to target the top universities, which from a bandwidth standpoint makes sense, right? So if you're a company, you're looking to quickly scale, you want to remain competitive or be more competitive, you're going to go to Harvard, to MIT, you're going to go to the top universities. But guess what? If you're looking to go to the top universities, that talent is also being recruited across the country. And then, those aren't diverse sources, and the diverse talent that are coming out of those universities are also super competitive because they're not just looking at Boston, they're fielding offer upon offer from, other regions. So if you are looking to be innovative, that's one thing. But if you're just looking to kind of, continue down that same path, nothing's going to change.
So maybe, one of the things, there's this concept of a tech talent exchange. And maybe Paul, as someone who employing on the demand side, what's the thoughts around, again, a vehicle to kind of understand the dynamic and the various vehicles that you can tap?
Yeah, so I think we touched upon some of those, the idea of the business-ready students showing up, understanding to some extent the culture of the corporate environment. It's hard to train someone in advance for how corporate can be different what they think, but at least having the foundations for that. And it's interesting, we often assume that people understand what a corporate environment is, and we find again and again that's not the case. And I remember a situation where at the Boston Fed, we do a community care day where we do mock interviews with young students who are looking to change their career. And I had this young woman of color come in who wanted to be a bank teller. And as part of the interview, I said, well, why are you interested in being a teller? Because that skill is essentially disappearing. Why wouldn't you want to pursue an IT job? And she said to me, what's IT? What is an IT department? I realized that's what we need to do within the demand side of it, is how do I bring in students? How can I expose them to what the nature of IT is? And that's going to make them successful as they move forward. So I think that's important. I think the idea of diversity, and I agree with the comments about a more diverse team, is much more innovative, they're much more creative, they operate at a much higher level. And we've seen it firsthand. We just recently launched the Boston Fed's new corporate website, and it was very much a diverse team that deployed it. And as we were laying out the imagery, we realized that we weren't displaying the diversity of the organization. And it was the diverse team that helped us define what that message is going out. And so that's why for us, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we're big consumers of the Tech Apprentice program, the Year Up program. And we've done some amazing things with Tech Apprentice. Last year we had a couple students come in, and we built a virtual reality application where they had the ability to navigate through economic data using a HoloLens. And this year we're going to have our students working on an Alexa AI app so that they could voice activate some sort of game and messaging. And these are skills that are going to be so critical in the future for technology.
No, that's great. That's great. Maybe Sean, just in terms of you know, as you grow Year Up, I mean, what are going to be the challenges of getting to this next step for you in this market? I mean, you're looking to go from 420 to 1,000 in 5 years, right? I mean, is your goal, is that right?
Yes. I don't, well, let me come back to that. Let me come back to answer your question, but I also just wanted to weigh in on the 2 questions previously, which is just to throw out a couple of other ideas about what our future state could be. So here's some other ideas for future state. As an employer, you wouldn't even imagine having a hiring strategy that didn't have opportunity youth as one of your buckets of talent, and a game plan for how you're going to change your practices to have that be the new normal, and internal data to be able to say our college hiring versus our historically black colleges versus our apprenticeship versus our various channels, to really understand that. From the supply intermediary side, I think we don't really have clarity on what we mean by employability skills. I agree it's not soft, it's actually hard and harder skills. Some call them power skills. We do not have that baked in and an understanding of what those are. So those are 2 things, one on either side, I think we want to bake in. In terms of Year Up at the direct service level, our challenges, I would say we're pretty bullish because this is an amazing community, and the partnerships that we have both with our new community college partner at Roxbury Community College and certainly with our being embedded now at State Street down in Quincy. I would say the challenge we have on a regular basis is attracting enough mentors for each of our students. So I would say if you haven't mentored at Year Up yet, please do. And if you have 5 friends, please ask them as well. And that pitch will come out as we double our numbers in terms of the number of, we have an extraordinary stream of talent. I would say there are also many more options for young people these days than there were certainly when we started 17 years ago. And I think a year seems like a long time when you're 18 or even when you're 21. And the cost benefit of why you would make an investment in yourself in this way, particularly given your likely complex responsibilities. So we also would love help recruiting on the young people side, and for the amazing companies we have, pretty much all companies I can think about in this town, we would love, in addition to what we do in our partnership with you, for you all to take on what you're doing beyond what we do so that you bake into your overall hiring, investment, retention practices. There are things like the ongoing credentialing of your talent. For young people and/or young people who come from lower income backgrounds, the idea of tuition reimbursement is a non-starter. There needs to be upfront investment in ongoing tuition that would then be potentially tied to success. Putting out the money in advance for a college course is actually usually beyond what's possible. So there's a handful of practices that are really at the cutting edge of ongoing investment in talent that we'd love to have Boston continue to have it be sort of standard practice. So those are a couple ideas.
Excellent, that's great. But I wanted to just opportunity for any questions that got one here. I'll start there and then to the back of the room.
Good morning. I love the conversation that's going on here. My name is Lindell, and I'm a volunteer for Mattapan Tech. And my comment is, as a parent, I have an 11-year-old son, and if you ask him today, if I say, Jonathan, what school are you going to when you grow up? He will say Kentucky University. I said, Jonathan, why are you going to Kentucky University? Because I want to be a basketball superstar. And him and his friends, all they do is talk about basketball. And when he grows up, he wants to be a basketball player. I said, great. As a parent, I'm supposed to say, great, super, that's nice. And then I say, well, maybe you can't be a basketball superstar, maybe you can be a sports agent or something like that. And I love hearing about this conversation about IT, because when I was growing up, I'm a first generation Haitian American. And in the Haitian community, it's all about nursing. Every other Haitian in my community is a nurse. Unfortunately, I'm not a nurse, but everybody's a nurse. And my comment is that you are a product of your community. And fortunately, Carrie Jean taught a coding program at my son's school, and she has a coding program going on over the summer. So it's my responsibility as a parent to introduce my son to IT, enroll him in a coding program, inform him about these jobs in Boston, these companies in Boston that I really don't know about, because people in my community don't talk about IT. We talk about nurses, doctors, lawyers, teachers, and not really IT. So as a parent, I'm now going to take the responsibility and introduce my son about information about IT. And also, for Christmas, I purchased my son a gaming system. I don't know these gaming systems, but I was walking by his room one day, and he was talking to someone. I said, Jonathan, who are you talking to? I'm talking to so-and-so in California. I said, how in the world are you talking to so-and-so? This might be a dangerous person. He's like, oh no, it's for the gaming. I said, I didn't know the game could do that. And so, you know, in my household, if my husband and I have a problem with the printer, or the iPhone, or the iPod, or the Kindle, I have to go to the 7-year-old or the 11-year-old to say, fix this problem. So that's what they know about IT, but I don't think they know about the IT industry, like, in general. So I'm going to take that responsibility as a parent. And I'm from Mattapan, the Mattapan area. I grew up in Dorchester, but we don't talk about that in Dorchester, Mattapan, and Oxford. But I will take the initiative. I will do that. Thank you for the conversation.
So if I could just comment, I love what you were saying about the gaming console. So I have a 12-year-old son, and he loves Minecraft. He can't spend enough time on Minecraft, but it's a way to introduce him to technology, because I say to him, while you're having fun, do you want to understand the underlying technology? Oh, it's using Java. Do you want to learn Java to maybe write a module? Oh, it's running in a cloud environment. Here's an opportunity to learn cloud. But you want to protect it from the bad guys? Let's talk about cybersecurity. So what is a very fun activity for a child can be an entryway into an IT career. I would also mention, when I started out as a programmer in the 90s, the barrier to entry was very high for me to learn. I had to buy a $2,500 computer, I had to buy software, I had to teach myself. Today, with Amazon Cloud, with the Microsoft Cloud, they have a free tier. So you can set up for a year a server, you can install programming tools, and a young person could learn everything at home for almost no cost. So really, it's a whole different environment out there for young people to teach themselves at home.
It's a great point. Yeah. I just got a question back for you.
Well, it's more of a comment to
Thank you.
So it's more of a comment to the mom. So just so you know, so one of the initiatives that I'm involved in is a robotics program that's happening across BPS. Right now we've got 17 schools. So it would be interesting to learn a little bit more about which school your son goes to see if we can bring that robotics program into his school. That's a phenomenal way for him to get some hands-on technical experience, and a way for him to also be exposed to other areas that lead to IT careers, whether it's design, design thinking, the problem-solving pieces that come with identifying how do you go past a particular challenge in order to score points, in order to win the robotics competition. So that's the kind of stuff that is happening across Boston Public Schools right now in different ways. It's just a matter of whether or not it's reached your school, and then making sure that your son has participation in that program. So maybe we can connect afterward.
Great, thanks for that.
In the back.
Hi, Claire Duggan from the Center for STEM Education. One of the things that I think we all very much, agree upon is that students need more opportunities for experiential learning. However, we also more than realize that businesses can't be compromised in terms of the work that they need to accomplish. So summer becomes a very busy time for businesses in terms of vacation schedules, trying to kind of assume this influx of not only high school students, community college students, and others. How would you like to see the last 2 years of high school redesigned to be able to really adequately prepare students for this?
She's so sorry.
Thank you for asking that question. What we envision, and I actually was going to bring up the point that one of the things that we really need is for our host companies to be prepared. There's a preparedness on our side with our students, but there's also a preparedness on your side, correct? Pick folks. I mean, not every home for an internship is a good home. And the worst thing that could happen is for one of our young people to have a not so great experience in their foray into very unfamiliar territory. So I'll answer the question by saying we clearly think that there should start to be a pathway in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade that starts to really do the sort of the real-time infusion of experiences. And it doesn't have to be a heavy lift. I think part of the problem is right now the model is that all of a sudden, as a junior or senior, you get thrown into this 6-week experience and you've not titrated in over a period of time. What if you started in the 9th grade with 1 day a month where you just went and job shadowed? And then in the 10th grade, you went and you did a summer vacation. During the downtime, let our partners tell us, this is a good part of the year for us to host a young person. And then on, and there's lots of really wonderful experts in this room who help us think about the most productive ways to create these experiences. But what I will say is a bit of a challenge back to, your companies, which is make an investment in the people that you need, the additional talent you need to host that internship. Because you're right, it's not easy. And we need to make sure that our young people actually have a good experience, because retention is going to be the next problem. Not just retention in our internships, but retention when you hire them. Great, if you hire them and you get it done, you actually would like them to stay. And so I think that, frankly, it's not just a commitment to saying this is the right thing to do, but it means that you may need to fund an internship coordinator who just specifically spends time making sure that they're thinking about how this is done in the most thoughtful way.
I know it's a challenge as an employer. You're always trying to craft a structure, and it takes time until you're, as Paul and I can attest, you're operating at 120 miles an hour, and you got to do a timeout, do some structured experiences, and that's I wouldn't say that's a learned art, but it needs to be learned over time, and how do you do that? So.
And you got to make an effort. That's what you have to do.
You definitely have. So the NUVCA is an extremely large organization with a staff of 5. And we have partnered with a charter school in Cambridge to do just that, which is to give a high school student, a senior, exposure and experience to industry. And so this is this 3rd year that we've done it. And this last year, we worked with a student, Ariana, who was she blew us away. I mean, a strong writer, was an apprentice or volunteer at the MFA, but we were exposing her to, what it means to sit at sort of a macro ecosystem level and look at venture capital and startup. And she did a lot of work with Hackdiversity. I'm looking at Sarah, who is Associate Director for Workforce Development, has done a lot of stuff on Hackdiversity here, and TechGen, and she worked a lot with that program to help with content and building. So the reason why I bring this up is because I think it takes commitment, right? So even a small organization like us, we said we can do it, we're going to have to carve out the time and find the time, because we're committed to it.
Can I say, just back to the theme of incentives and what we hold ourselves accountable for, there are organizations across the globe and some in the US who actually have as part of their performance reviews the investment that people make in pipelines of talent, and particularly diverse pipelines of talent. And we tend to count what we measure. And so I would just encourage, as we think about how you would incent people, not just doing the right thing, but doing the thing that's going to be right for the set of commitments we're making in this community. It's to bake that into what we're actually supporting people at learning how to get good at, and then holding them into account for in terms of personal performance in the job.
Sure.
Hi, good morning. I have a question about the so-called soft skills. What are the biggest soft skills, critical skills that are holding people back that come to your mind? And secondly, does this new tech environment, are there things specific to the tech industry specifically that are critical thinking, soft skills that are missing? So there's two questions in there, please.
I can start. So generally we employers nationwide, and this has been true for at least 15 years of my watching and listening on this, we hire for skills and we fire for attitude and behavior. Seriously. So the incredible amount of time that's spent looking at someone's credentials, which I would tell you on average is, let's just take a look at, how long do you think the average hiring manager spends looking at a resume?
10 seconds.
It's actually 7 seconds. So we've got the second round of the Grads of Life campaign that's coming out, the big national PSA, which we'll market here in the Commonwealth. It's called the 7-second resume. And it's essentially a 7-second live video resume of a young person explaining how they're going to add value to your company. That's actually the new wave around the kind of hiring we're going to be doing. To the example you had of, no, we're not going to let the employers look at the resumes, we're going to have them spend time. So that first thing is really behavior and attitude. So to the soft skills, there's like 6 that over time, and I don't know that I can answer, I don't think we've seen a lot of discretion in IT particularly, but it's essentially problem solving, being able to give and receive feedback, communication skills, which is both virtually, online, and also in response to other people, group skills, because we tend to work in teams, critical thinking we've talked about, arguably related to all of the previous ones, and I've forgotten 2 others. Being able to, well, that's partly about feedback, right? Being able to fail fast and take the feedback and actually then try again without, being devastated. And there's a 6th one, which is escaping me. Those are the key ones, yeah.
Yeah, I keep on going back to communication, whether it's how you receive feedback, how you communicate to your team, and then also being able to be a part of a team and be a team player. Over here.
Do those resonate with you?
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe one more question. We could, yeah, one more question. Okay, over here.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. I'm Deborah Finn from Tech Networks of Boston, and this question is mostly for Sean, but maybe for other panelists who are interested. I'm thrilled to see someone from a nonprofit organization on the panel. In fact, I want us to do a 4th forum where it's all nonprofit professionals on the panel. My question for Sean and others who are interested in workforce development in the tech world is really about the future of nonprofit technology professionals in the greater Boston area. What are your thoughts about what is going to be done to train, educate, and place the nonprofit tech professionals of the future here in our region? Thanks.
Well, as a 501c3, which is arguably, as is everybody, a technology company, we face the same challenges as all employers, and we employ people now in 17 cities around the U.S. And we have folks teaching about technology, many of whom come from your companies and are, in either a second stage of career or sort of hybriding around having worked in industry and working as teachers and trainers. So we face the same challenges in the competitive marketplace for talent. Arguably, for folks who've got that skill set, they're really interested in service and essentially inclusion and thinking about how to bring those skills to bear around those issues. I don't know that I actually distinguish the sectors here in terms of thinking about talent. So as much as I think there are arguably 3 sectors, I would include government in this as well, I think what we're seeing in terms of employability and employment, which is totally different than when I was coming up, which is that people actually have multiple careers and they work across sectors. And so what we really want is the ability to be translational across and connected. So back to cohesion, part of arguably what Europe has been good at is that we speak young adult, we speak business, we speak community college, and we communicate effectively. We can listen and help our young people be able to migrate across those. And I think that set of skills, regardless of what your origin state is the central, that's going to be a central employability skill. So back to what we want to make sure we're doing in the schools, starting arguably in pre-K and with our kids at home at whatever tender ages they are, is really that set of skills, because we're going to be migrating employment for life with in an industry with a particular skill set in a particular enterprise. Those days are gone.
And I would just say that, so we're a nonprofit as well, but when we think about the economic disparities here in Massachusetts and what we're trying to do, we want to make sure that we are targeting for-profit companies, because these companies have the ability to completely change the income level of these graduates. And so I'll give an example, and I can't name numbers, but one of our interns got a full-time offer right out the bat. Like, he had to go through through the internship with Wayfair. They said, we don't want you to go through the internship, we're giving you a full-time offer. And his offer was as competitive as somebody coming out of Northeastern.
So the Federal Reserve is a nonprofit, so I can actually weigh in this as well. But one of the biggest challenges is once you inculcate these students to be competitive, now you're risking they're going to run to Amazon or Google, something really hot and flashy. So as a nonprofit, you have to continue to market yourself as an employer of choice. And so what we do at the Fed is everything from redesigning our website to be responsive and mobile ready, to what I do on LinkedIn. I'm always trying to promote the Fed as an employer of choice for technology. So I think that's a challenge for the nonprofits, because maybe you can't pay the same salary that Amazon can, so you got to promote the other aspects of the area, which might be more interesting work or more tenure, all of that. So I think marketing is critical to that.
That's an excellent point. So with that, I'm going to actually just thank our panelists. I think what I get excited about is what's represented on stage here, the dynamic of our environment, our community, and with the announcements that were made today, this has got a trajectory here of hopefully better cohesion, better alignment, all that good stuff, right?
And more people of color being employed.
It's an opportunity, yeah, it's great. So again, I want to thank everyone, and thank you.
Thank you.
Before everyone departs, I just want to say a quick thank you to Jim, our moderator, who's also been a terrific chair of the TechHire Consortium. Thanks to City of Boston and Mayor and Kinwin is here in the back and for their support for this IT tech work, and especially also to Paul and Boston Foundation for being a great partner to us in their commitment over the next 10 years. So thank you for all being here, and please stay in touch with Alicia and I as we ask for that call to action and continued partnership. So thank you, have a great rest of your day.